The best method of preparation is preparing for the worst. This guarantees that no matter what the worst case scenario is, you will have covered all your bases. However, when it comes to insurance, there is a trade-off. You need to weigh up the risk versus the cost. And in today's video, I may have just found a method that might just save you some money. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Reece, and in today's video, I'm going to be discussing something I learned recently about a very particular type of insurance and how doing something with it that I'm going to talk about might result in you actually saving more money in your superannuation over time. Just as a quick disclaimer, my apologies in advance to my viewers that are not from Australia. This video is definitely going to be much more specific to Australians. So if you want to watch on, feel free to. You might get some value out of the video. I'm just saying that it's definitely going to be applicable to a lot more of the people who live here in Australia. Okay, so one of the most, if not the most popular way to minimize risk is to take out insurance policies against a range of different categories. Categories like your health, such as hospital cover and death cover, or your belongings like car insurance and home insurance. However, the four most common personal risk insurance policies taken out in order of importance are income protection, life insurance, TPD, and trauma cover. There is a system which you should definitely consider following to ensure that you are appropriately covered, and I'm going to walk you through that process right now. Firstly, you want to identify the actions that you can take right now to minimize risk. This generally comes in the format of you looking ahead and trying your best to guess what types of cover you may potentially need or require in the future. Then the goal is to pick up that risk that you've identified and transfer it to someone else in the format of an insurance policy, a policy that suits your personal needs and your budget. Sounds simple enough, right? Now to the very specific type of insurance that I want to talk about today, being income protection. The overall purpose of income protection is to cover you in the instance where you can no longer perform your occupation, and it's generally paid as a wage somewhere around about the 75% mark of what your income was until the age of 65, which, if it happens to you, that's super terrible. I'm super sorry that that's what's happened, but that's how it technically works. You get a salary until the age of 65, and it's because you technically got hurt and can't do your job anymore. It's not a good thing, it's a bad thing, but it's a good thing to have. My whole working career, I have paid for income protection. The amount that I have paid has varied, but currently I'm paying about $21 based on my current wage. What you need to understand is that premium will vary depending on the income you bring in and how you set it. It's something you yourself can set. But using me as the example, this is roughly $250 a year. So that is roughly $250 a year, which if you extrapolate that over the course of a working career, I'm going to say from 20 to 65, that's a 45-year working career, it's a full career, I'm going to pay somewhere in the realm of $11,000 for income protection, which might seem like a lot of money, but over that period of time, it's going to be nothing in terms of the benefit I have of if I am unable to perform my occupation and need that income protection to survive. 75% of my current wage until I'm 65 will allow me to live the rest of my days, regardless of the state that I'm in, without having to worry about how I'm going to put food on the table. So it's almost like a necessary insurance to put my peace of mind, to put me in a state of peace of mind. Just as a quick side note as well, that premium will definitely change as I earn more money. So I will eventually increase that amount that I'm covered for, and my premium will also go up. So that $11,000 will definitely shift in the up and up as I start to earn more money. Now, the interesting thing that I recently learned is that income protection is tax deductible if you pay for that premium outside of your superannuation. For those who don't know, superannuation in Australia is a way to basically invest for retirement without actually being able to touch it. You can pay for very specific insurances out of your superannuation and it will automatically be deducted depending on which super company you're with. So you should absolutely check it if you're someone within Australia. Just understand that if you cancel your insurance policy being income protection inside your super and take out a income protection outside of super, that is tax deductible, whereas it is not tax deductible inside super. This is important moving forward. I did some research and looked up the cost of income protection outside of super. How much is it going to set me back to have another tax deduction and have more money sitting in my super being invested for the years to come? Well, turns out it's somewhere between $40 at the lower end, and it can range all the way up to hundreds of dollars for the higher end per month. I averaged them out and got about $55 per month as the average. Now there is a consideration to be made, because we have two scenarios here that could potentially end up in you saving tens of thousands of dollars more through your superannuation in the years to come. The thing that we need to weigh up here is, what is the cost of me having my income protection in superannuation? What is the cost of me having income protection outside of superannuation because it's a tax deduction? And what is my return going to be for having that extra money in my superannuation being invested every single year? We can kind of work it out and model it. And like I said, I built a spreadsheet, which you're going to be able to use in a minute. I'm going to show you that will allow you to understand a bit better the story that I'm trying to paint right now. But I'm going to take you around for the long ride to break it down into simpler terms. So we're starting with you having income protection in your super. If you have income protection in your super, every month they are taking that premium out of that account to pay for your income protection, which means your overall balance would be lower. Let's say it costs you $20 a month and you have $1,000 in super. At the end of the month, it will be worth $980. At the end of the next month, it will be $960, assuming you're not putting more money into it. The point is that having your income protection in super is going to be a cost or a drain on your super at a very slow rate, but nonetheless, it will be a cost to your super. Whereas when you have your income protection outside of super, you are now paying a higher monthly premium, because in general, the premiums are much more expensive than having it in super. However, it is now able to be deducted off of your taxable income. So keep that in mind. As a higher income tax earner, having a tax deduction, any tax deductions that are beneficial to your life generally are good, whilst having your money in super accumulating over time and growing at an annual rate of return of anywhere between 3 and 12%. Just keep that in mind, as well as the tax deduction and the rate of return from your super. That's another good thing to consider. I'm going to say this, you need to look into different policies as well, but generally private income protection policies are better than the ones you'll get in superannuation as well. Always compare, always look at what you're getting versus what you could be getting if you're going to do some research into this. Moving on. Now, I've actually done some calculations to model exactly what I'm talking about, which is the trade-off between having income protection in super versus having private income protection. And where we're going with this is straight into this Excel spreadsheet that I've created. I've left a link down in the description below, so feel free to check it out and actually follow along with me, because what I'm about to do is show you some figures and estimates to show you the outcome of what the difference would be depending on your own situation. And while you're down in the description, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really does help the channel grow. So the assumptions I'm working with are as follows. I'm using $55 a month for income protection outside of super, which is roughly $660 a year, or $29,700 over a working career, approximately. So that working career that we are setting out is 45 years of holding that cover. The investment returns that we're setting is a very, very conservative 4%. Generally, the market will return anywhere between 7 and 12% over the course of 30 years. Keep that in mind. We are being very conservative with these numbers. Now, I'm going to assume a tax rate of 32.5 cents, which falls into the earnings bracket of the $45,000 to $120,000, which I would assume to be the majority of the working population in Australia's earning bracket. Keep that in mind as well. So here's where the interesting part happens. Over 45 years, while having income protection outside of your super would see you earning about $30,000 at a 4% return in your super, because you are no longer spending from that balance to have income protection. Remember, it's outside of super in this example, or that's the comparison that we're looking at. However, you have now spent a total of approximately $20,000 after all your tax benefits. So I worked out after deductions how much you would be saving over 45 years to hold income protection outside of your super. Bear in mind that income protection policies outside of super are generally better in what they cover, as I mentioned before. So Altogether, the net gain in this very approximate and conservative estimation is that you are better off $10,000, and that number will probably be much higher because we used a return rate of 4%. Like I said, historical returns are closer to 10% over the course of 30 to 50 years. So at a return rate of 10%, if we change it to 10%, that net gain would be closer to $160,000, which is a lot of money for such a small week-to-week expense. I know this may have been a little wordy, but for those of you that came across this video, it is incredibly important to understand, because within the span of a couple of weeks, you could potentially have set yourself up to be on the path where all you have to do is pay that weekly or fortnightly premium at around about these costs, be getting a better cover and saving tens of thousands of dollars over a working career, especially if you're someone young who's just watching YouTube videos and have recently fallen into the workforce. Definitely something to consider. You have a whole working career ahead of you. You potentially could save a lot of money. Use the spreadsheet, plug the numbers in. It's very interactive and it's super easy to use. See just what you might come out with. That's why I created it. I think it's absolutely brilliant. Just keep in mind that the numbers are all great depending on the cost of the premiums, but also look at what the policies cover. Make sure that you are aware of what your policy is going to give you in the event that you are unable to perform your occupation moving forward. It's a super important thing to understand. Otherwise, you could sign up for some dodgy ass cover and just be screwed on the side of the street forever if something were to happen. So keep that in mind as well. I can't stress that enough. It's not financial advice. This is not financial advice. I'm a random dude who thinks he found something clever on the internet. Definitely have a look. If you disagree with me, tell me why in the comments, and I would love to be ripped apart, because if you can find an insurance policy and you can plug it into that spreadsheet and you can basically work out over the course of a career how much money you would make more in super outside of your everyday expenses of having to pay for that through private, it's probably going to be worth it in a lot of people's instances. So again, I know that was very wordy. Watch it back if you need to, but just play with the spreadsheet. It's more than enough to go on and then look up the cost of income protection depending on where you live in Australia. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope you learned something, and I hope that you actually use the resource that I provided. That's what it's here for. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Really helps the channel. I'm asking 2 times in my videos now, but I have to because still growing, baby. And I will see you in the next one. Goodbye for now.